Let's go to our guests now. We're joined by Jessica Lautz from the National Association of Realtors, here to talk a little bit about what's going on with first-time homebuyers. Jessica, how are you today?
Good. How are you? Good morning.
Doing well. Let's talk a little bit about what we typically see in terms of first-time homebuyers and the percentage of sales that they make up in any particular market. What's the norm, and what are we seeing in today's market?
Well, I will say that before the Great Recession, we were at 40% of the market. That's the historical norm. Today, it's an all-time low. It's at 26% of the market.
When you talk about those first-time homebuyers, who are they? What are the demographics? Have those changed since the Great Recession as well?
Absolutely. So typically what we would see is that a first-time home buyer was 28 to 33 years old. Really boring. The numbers did not change much. It's pretty flat. What we saw this year is it's actually at an all-time high for age at 36 years old. We see a smaller share are actually married today. We see more singles in the market, but what we really see more of are actually roommates purchasing homes together, and we actually see a lot of unmarried couples as well. And that's something that's unusual to the home buying market. We're seeing people are really strapped with affordability, so they're entering homeownership in unique ways.
Does that make you nervous at all for 3 to 5 years down the road from here? It just feels to me like when you are buying a property with someone that you are not legally bound to in any way, shape, or form, maybe I've just anecdotally seen enough issues with that from my friend group, but that just doesn't really feel sustainable to me. Am I missing something here?
You know, I think as long as you have a legal contract, I'm not an attorney, but I would say as long as you have some sort of contract in hand, you're probably okay. I would say that people are just trying to get into the home ownership rung, make it onto the ladder, and it's so difficult to do so independently today with home prices going up and with interest rates going up. And we know that just since the beginning of the year, the typical mortgage is $1,000 more per month if you were going to take out that loan today versus January. And that's just unsustainable for one individual to be able to do.
One of the other statistics that's been making the rounds over the last week or so is that the distance that people are moving compared to their previous residence, hitting a new all-time high, and not just a little bit higher, but the median distance between the home that recent buyers purchased and the home from which they moved was 50 miles, which is basically like triple what it normally is. What's going on here? How's that happening?
Yeah, absolutely. So affordability is the top reason why people are looking for specific neighborhoods. The second reason, what I think is pretty interesting, and the pandemic has kind of upended this, is that we know that people want to be closer to friends and family. They need their support system around, say, your young parents, and school is suddenly closed because of COVID, or someone has exposed, and so you need to have daycare services, but daycares are closed. And so we know that family support systems, having elderly parents around, can be really helpful, that extra set of hands. The other reason, of course, is for elder care. We know that caregiving goes up and it goes down, and so seeing that a lot of people were concerned about nursing homes and assisted living in the last year, and having that support system around can be incredibly helpful for everyone, regardless of generation. And the third reason, of course, is remote work. A lot of employers gave definitive permanent decisions January of 2021. So what we're seeing in the data now is essentially people saying, wait, I have a permanent decision, I can move. And this gave them the ability to move to further off Zoom towns, and that really is where we saw a lot of growth in the last year.
For much of the last couple of years, it seemed like everyone was getting outbid by the mythical all-cash buyer who came in and paid, X% over asking price, and it was all cash, and, gee, I didn't really have a chance. Did we actually see an increase in the percentage of transactions that were to all-cash buyers, or was that just kind of how it felt?
It's not mythical. It's an all-time high as well for repeat buyers out there today. They earned a lot of equity in the last decade. They held onto their homes for about 10 years, and when they moved, they had about $210,000 in equity. What we saw is that for repeat buyers, traditionally what we have seen is about 17% are paying all cash. Perhaps they're retirees, they're downsizing, something along those lines. Now it's more than a quarter. It's 27%. It was a 10 percentage point jump in 1 year. So a lot of people earned a lot of equity. They moved further out places, more affordable places, and they were able to pay all cash.
Jessica, what do you tell someone who doesn't own a place today and is just feeling very discouraged after the last either 5 years or last decade of just, not being able to get into a home and now feeling like it might be out of reach because of how high rates are and what prices still look like.
Yeah. So I'm going to give, words of advice from what I'm seeing from recent home buyers, how they successfully entered homeownership, but I'm going to know that some of these things are not doable. So I'm going to give a second guidepost here too. So the first ones that we did see for successful first-time home buyers, we saw the highest share had moved in with mom and dad in the last year, friends or family, didn't pay rent necessarily, or at least not market value rent. So they were able to save for a down payment. So if that's something that you have in your ability to double up with friends and family for a temporary time, you can go and be a homeowner. That's certainly something that we're seeing. Of course, the bank of mom and dad, always good if you can get it for a down payment, but of course that's not accessible for a lot of people as well. For others out there where this is not doable, certainly wasn't for me as a first-time home buyer, what I would suggest is going to HUD.gov, researching low down payment programs, finding your experts. Find your local realtor who knows your community